This is Library Nerds with Words, the podcast that gives you the word on all the cool, nerdy happenings at Peter White Public Library and the library universe beyond. From books and concerts to search engines and story times, the library nerds are in and ready to show you that being a nerd can be cool. Get ready, get set, get nerdy. Welcome back to Library Nerds with Words, the podcast where you get the word on all the cool things happening at Peter White Public Library and the library universe beyond, straight from the mouths of the people who know it best, library nerds. I'm Marty Achatz, the adult programming coordinator for Peter White Public Library. And joining me in Nerdingham Palace today is Jody Trost, library nerd and felting fiber artist superstar. Welcome back to the podcast, Jody.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Jody, always excited to sit down. I never know which way the conversation is going to go when we start talking. But the last time we spoke, it was right around the middle of summer. And we reminisced about the good old days when you and I worked together at Book World on Washington Street. That was a long time ago. And we also talked about your career as a fiber artist and your work as one of the workshop leaders for Craft Magic here at PWPL. And when you're showing people how to do needle felting, you are combining two of your passions, which is felting and teaching. Teaching is another thing that you and I have in common. We're both graduates of NMU's master's program in English. So if you can't tell, Jody and I have a lot in common. In fact, we get mistaken for each other all the time. Jody, she can't see this, everybody, but she's laughing now so hard that she can't even talk. Jody was even present at the birth of my daughter back in 2001. Yeah, 2000. Yep. So you might say that we could fill a library of stories from our friendship together. And yes, that is a clue as to what Jody and I will be talking about today. However, it's not a great clue, but it's a clue. However, before we find out what is on your mind today, Jody, we have to play another game of Word on the Nerd, everyone's favorite game. So you know how this works. I'm going to ask you 3 library nerd questions about yourself, and you have to answer them for the listeners. So, Jody, are you ready to play?
Word on the Nerd.
I'm ready.
All right. Jody, this is going to be a little game of Would You Rather. I'm going to ask you 3 Would You Rather questions, and you have to truthfully answer them for the listeners. And all of today's questions have something to do with libraries and books. All right.
Yay.
So here's your first question. Would you rather only be able to check out books from a library that has solely James Patterson books? Or would you rather only be able to check out books from a library that has solely Stephenie Meyer and E.L. James books? Neither really are a good choice.
You're killing me. So James Patterson, Stephenie Meyers, and E.L. Do they have to just be Stephenie Meyers and E.L. James, or can I pick between those 2?
You can pick between those 2, but that library that you're talking about only has Stephenie Meyer books and E.L. James books. And the other library only has James Patterson books.
They're very small libraries. Very small.
Very tiny.
Tiny.
Well, they'll have videos too, because some of their books have been made into movies and stuff too. So you could watch movies.
I'm going to have to go with James Patterson, which is just bizarre in my brain. But
okay, why?
Because they're so the other one's going to be small, tiny. And I couldn't imagine 50 Shades of Grey. Like, that's the only piece of literature I have for the rest of my life. I never got past that one. And the only reason I read it is because all my colleagues at the time were reading it and I felt left out.
I see, and I do the exact opposite. When I see a whole bunch of people reading a book, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. So
yeah, I tried to break into conversation, and they were like all about it. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to read this and see what it's about.
It's a piece of trash.
And I didn't have very nice things to say about it. So then they didn't like me anyway. So it really helped.
Well, you can absolutely tell, at least with the first 50 Shades of Grey book, which I got about a third of the way into it, and I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. But I was reading it, and I'm like, this is like if you find a site on the internet where someone is trying to write softcore porn or porn, and and can't spell, and can't punctuate, and can't put a paragraph together. Then that's what it is.
It was like a stream of consciousness, yes, in some places.
Yeah, but
And then
you also go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm that kind of person. I'll like correct a sign I see on the wall somewhere if it's oh, that's not right. And so yeah, it was torture. It was pure torture. I do like Stephanie Meyer though. I thought the Twilight Saga was very well written.
Oh, there's other people that would disagree with you on that one.
I do, I get it, but then you look at it and you compare it to the movies. I so much love the book better. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but then you don't get to stare at Robert Pattinson then, if you don't.
I'm not gonna lose sleep over that. I mean, he's cute and all, but I mean, but Morgan was like 14 at the time, and she was reading it, and so I had to figure out like why all of a sudden I didn't see her for like 6 hours a day because she's in her room just like digesting these books. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to read this because I want to make sure I know what she's reading. Yeah, they were pretty good.
Okay. But you said you'd go with James Patterson.
Yeah, I'd have to go with James.
Just because of the variety or the expanded?
Yeah, I could see myself rereading James Patterson if that was the only book I had for the rest of my life.
Well, and you also know that James Patterson writes with other people too. So
he does.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he's written a book with maybe Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton. I can't remember who.
Yes.
So you do get other authors if you choose James Patterson. I'm with you. I would choose James Patterson over E.L. James or Stephanie Meyer. Although I did like Stephanie Meyer's science fiction book too, The Host. I thought that was really
cool. I did like that one too.
Yeah. So, but E.L. James, I don't think will ever hit my reading list ever again.
No.
So, all right, Jody, the questions might get a little harder. From here on out. Okay.
I thought that was torture.
So here's your second question. Would you rather have access to the private library of writer Flanner O'Connor? Or would you rather have access to the private library of Emily Dickinson?
Well, I'll have to go with Emily Dickinson because I've actually seen Flannery O'Connor's private writings.
Okay. And so you've already been to the private library of Flannery O'Connor.
Yes, which was just like Disneyland. And yeah. So I'll have to go with Emily Dickinson on that one.
Okay.
Although I could spend more time with Flannery. Yeah, the librarian at Georgia College and University in Milledgeville said she had never seen anybody quite as excited as I was when I found out all I had to do was ask, and they would let me go in there and look at her stuff.
Oh my God. I would die. I would absolutely die.
I had to sit down.
Did you see stuff with her actual handwriting on it and everything?
Actual handwriting. You can't touch that. And yeah, and everything was kind of like she had like cute little white gloves on, and everything was in plastic, and it was all perfect. Her little desk was in there. No, I've done the whole Flannery O'Connor tour. I mean, I've been obsessed with her since I was a teenager. I've been to her house where she has little peacocks running all over the place. It's very Southern, very cute. But no, yeah, to see like actual handwritten like notes on like Wise Blood. Whoa, my brain.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would die. See, if it were choice for me, I would go with Flannery O'Connor over Emily Dickinson. I love Emily Dickinson, but
I do too. And I guess I could spend more time with Flannery O'Connor's work because I did literally saw like a small portion. They have the largest collection of her work at Georgia College. I think Emory College now has some of like her letters and correspondence with fans and people. I think Emory now stores that. But now that little cute little Milledgeville library just has just one of the most amazing collections of an American writer. It just wow.
Okay.
So,
well, you're still going with Emily Dickinson, but you could live with Flannery O'Connor too.
I could.
Okay. I have not had the experience of either. I've had a friend that has gone to the Dickinson home and like been up in her bedroom where she and everything like that. I've got pictures and stuff like that from that friend, which would be an amazing experience as well. Just being where she wrote all of those poems and everything. Seeing the bed where she died and stuff like that would be kind of cool. But Flannery's my gal, and I think that I since I was a teenager and first read A Good Man Is Hard to Find.
I know a librarian gave that to me when I was like 17, and she said, "Jody, you have to read this." And I'm like, "What's it about?" And she said, "You just have to read it." So yeah, when I would come in wandering, trying to find out what I was going to read next, she was just pull stuff off the shelf and hand it to me. I cried. I cried. I was scared. The story scared me to death. But no, one of my favorites.
Well, and one of the best final lines of a story ever. She'd have been a good woman if someone had been there to shoot her in the head every day of her life. I mean, I laughed out loud when I read
that. How can you not? Like, bless her heart.
People don't realize how funny that story really is. And they don't realize that Flannery O'Connor meant it to be funny, because it's about a serial killer killing a family. So,
but it's also, it reminds me of like, my grandma had all these different, like, emphasis of bless your heart.
Yeah.
And some I knew she was just being mean, and it was I would just laugh, I knew that was her mean, bless your heart. Yeah, it's that Southern dark sense of humor, and it just kills me. But it also scared me to death too.
For those listeners that haven't heard Jody before, if you can't tell, she's from the South. So I just thought I'd say that just in case people didn't realize it. Jody's a little bit older than me, just slightly. Yes, you are. Anyway, we are of the same generation. Shall we say it that way? We're of the same generation. And like I said, you put us in a room together, you wouldn't be able to tell us apart. So anyway, all right, here comes your last question. Might be the hardest, might be the easiest, who knows? Would you rather be only be able to read poetry books for the rest of your life? Or would you rather only be able to read cookbooks for the rest of your life?
Love cookbooks. Okay, your next like writing adventure needs to be a poetry cookbook.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting combination.
Yeah, like a poem that goes with every meal in a cookbook. I'd have to go with poetry on that one.
Poetry?
Yeah.
Explain why.
Well, I love cookbooks, and I will read them from beginning to end before I even cook anything out of them. I find them amazing. It's the technical aspect of it all. But man, if I couldn't read poetry, why would I be here?
Yeah, I totally agree. This is not a hard one for me to answer. It's going to be poetry. Honestly, that's the bulk of what I read anyway. So, that's not a difficult question. Cookbooks, I mean, I understand people's fascination with them, And I could get into a cookbook that has like really beautiful pictures and is written really well. I could get into that. But if you combine poetry and a cookbook, I mean that's like the best of both worlds. Like Flannery O'Connor, peacock stew, you know,
Oh, with the poem
with a poem about
dedicated
Flannery
to Tea
O'Connor.
Owl.
I will say this that you're gonna love this, but my Bigfoot book that's coming out has a poem that has Bigfoot and Flannery O'Connor in the same
Oh,
space.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. So anyway, okay. So you and I are both agreed on that one. So all right. Well, those were a little tough. I think that the first question was the toughest for
The
you.
first question about kill me.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of this books and library edition of Word on the Nerd, this time with Jody Trost, book, library, and felting nerd superstar. Yep. So, Jody Trost, superstar. Um, anyway, so now we're going to find out what subject has you checking in and out recently. And that's another clue as to today's topic. So, Jody, it's time for you to share
the word.
So, Jody, what is on your mind today?
Libraries.
Libraries. All right.
So I recently moved into Snowberry Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who are not familiar with that, it's a retirement facility on Fifth Street in Marquette. And I moved in February, and by April, I had volunteered myself to become the new resident librarian. Now, wow, that
sorry,
sounds utterly exciting. There have been days where I've gone, what have I done? Because there's one of me, and then there is 189 residents that live here beyond me. So I'm a little outnumbered, but anyways, it's been fun. It has gone through many different hands of people and residents taking care of it. And the last two ladies that I took over from are both in their mid 80s. And we're just like, I can't even reach the books on the top shelf anymore. So they haven't moved in like 2 years.
But you're short, Jody. You can't reach the books on the top shelf.
I know, but I can get on a stool. They're like, no, we're not going to climb a stool. And so yes, they asked if I would take over the library. And I did. And it's been wonderful.
Yeah, but you've had it's been a training process for you training these people that it's a library, so therefore you have to check things out and you just can't come in and grab a book and stuff. I mean, you have really made it into truly what is a library.
Okay, so it started out with I just gutted it. I mean, there were books on there that hadn't moved, and when I went to open them, like the pages were stuck together. They'd been there for so long. And so I gutted everything. I took everything apart, cleaned everything, and then I just started pulling books that were no longer usable. And then I made the mistake of going on Facebook. Careful what you wish for. And I said, hey, if you guys got any books to donate, I'm redoing the Snowberry Library. Like, it was insane. It was very overwhelming, the response I got. Perfect strangers. And this woman's like, oh, well, I'll donate my mom's collection of books. She passed away and we don't know what to do with them. I'm like, okay. She's like, oh, well, I'll be there in an hour. And I'm okay, well, let me know when you're coming. I'll meet you outside. And literally 2 vans, not little vans. I'm talking full-size vans, like pull up in front of Snowberry, full of books. It was this woman's entire book collection. And it was amazing. And then I got it all inside and I went, oh my God, where am I going to put all this? So I checked everything for money. There was no money.
Okay. Disappointing, but you never know.
There was no money. But yeah, so our entire book collection Snowberry has now been completely revamped. There isn't anything in the library except for maybe a handful of books before like early 2000.
So now everything is very current.
Everything is very current. I put mystery here and fiction here and nonfiction here. We got a paperback section now.
Did you arrange it Dewey Decimal and all that?
No, not yet. I only have like a little bit. I've done it in like alphabetical order. I put the little letter tags in there so they know where to search for their favorite authors. And so now I've got a list where they have to check the books out.
Yeah.
And then when they return the books, they're supposed to write down when they return the book. And so this is so I can kind of keep track of what people are reading and what they're not reading for future polls,
Yeah.
They're not complying.
Okay, so give me the demographic of your audience. What age range, what gender are we talking about?
It's male and female, anywhere from like, I don't know, 65 to 94.
Okay.
I have figured out since April, there's about 45 and maybe like a handful more that I just can't confirm because I know they're in there, but they're not checking out the books. From 65 to like 90. But there's at least 45 to 50 current consistent users of the library here, which is like a third of our resident population.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I was very surprised. But again, in the past, they just stopped checking out books.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, they still don't check out the books, but they're slowly coming around. I come to the library and I get book pages for them now, and they get to see current literature, which also is kind of backfired on me because they want to know when I'm getting all this literature for the library.
So they want the newest books at the library.
Yes. So we have a very extensive mystery and crime section. And horror. I don't understand how anybody sleeps around here. And the fiction section is getting there. But yeah, so now they're being more exposed with these book pages to like current authors. They're now giving me lists of authors that they want me to look for when people donate books or anything like that. So to put an eye out for those because they read one and now they want to read the whole series. So it's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of people. We have a lot of things that we're hoping to be able to move forward with in the future to expand the library. I'm always taking donations. So yeah, hit me up if you got some books to donate.
So if you have a couple of van loads of books that you want to get rid of,
let's not do
call Jody.
Just call me. I'll take them off your hands. Yeah. So next month we start book clubs here. So I'm always looking for like multiple copies of books. They don't seem to be too picky about what they want to read for book club. Mm-hmm. Although I've told them that I will not participate in crime and murder book clubs because I'll have nightmares.
You don't want true crime. I mean, you will take true crime, but it sounds like they like true crime, but not something that's really up your alley.
No, it scares me to death because that could like really happen. And yeah, so we're gonna start that next month. We're having our first meeting at the beginning of the month, so that'll be fun. I've also told them I'm not going to participate in 5 book clubs. Somebody else is going to have to take some leadership on other book clubs if they all can't agree on who's going to read what. And the age ranges for the book clubs seem to be about, I don't know, 40-ish to 90. I mean, it's a huge gap. But they're having fun with it. I put up all the library event pages on the wall in our library so they know what's going on. We're going to do our first movie night, or well, not movie night. It's going to be movie matinee because they all voted that they did not want to do movies after 6 o'clock. but that's I know. So we're doing a movie matinee.
What movie matinee are you going to be doing?
What's your favorite scary movie? And so we're doing a poll at the beginning of October.
So, like The Exorcist, you could be watching.
I hope not, but
Silence of the Lambs.
it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I kind of
what
want to
what
keep it.
what horror movie do you absolutely don't want them to vote on?
Oh, what I don't. Oh, the Strangers. The Strangers. That
The
scary
Strange.
movie.
Is that the one with Nicole Kidman? And no,
No, that was the one with Liz Tyler.
Liv Tyler.
Yes, and those people come to her house with those little creepy, like 1960s, like Halloween masks, and they like start killing them. And then, like at the end, she's like, "Why are you doing this?" And they're like, "Because you were home." I lost my mind. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
So, but you opened yourself. You said a Halloween movie, so you opened yourself up to this.
Well, it's Halloween. I'm hoping for Halloween. Like
The movie Halloween, the
yeah,
original.
I
Please
am.
don't go to the sequels that they just
No,
released, because that last movie just about it was so bad. It's
no,
terrible.
I don't think I've gotten past like Halloween 4, and then I just gave up.
Well, you should probably have stopped at the first one, but well, you might end up with like Beetlejuice. You
That would
know,
be cute, but I'm kind of like on a Halloween movie. You know what I mean?
you really well. Beetlejuice is a Halloween movie,
I
sort
guess
of,
it
but
is.
you don't want anything like the Saw movies or
No, because that's no. 'Cause I'll have to get walked back to my
that's
room.
for me.
Uh,
The Saw movies are like gore porn. You just can't really do those.
yeah, no, that's too much. It's like overkill.
Well, if I knew where I could go to vote, I would like be putting the worst movie that I could think of. I'd be voting like The Exorcist, The Exorcist, The Exorcist, The Exorcist, The Exorcist. You know, which
Oh,
for me, The Exorcist is like the most frightening movie ever made.
see,
So,
I thought in the theaters when I was a kid. I mean, as
mhm.
a kid, who takes your child to see that crap? But my parents. And uh, I went around like doing that voice forever. Just
The
to
what the possessed voice.
yeah, just to scare people.
Well,
And
you have that low kind of growly thing in your voice now. You could be The Exorcist,
I know, but I've always had like a low kind of like scratchy kind of voice. But yeah, so I took total entertainment in this. And then I purchased the like 25th year uncut edition.
Oh.
Man, if I'd have seen that when I was a little kid, I'd have been maimed for life.
Let me tell you, I went to the movies and saw that when they released and they added in the spider walk where she comes backwards down the stairs.
What was that? I had to get up and turn it up.
It was like I was like, I've seen this movie before. This isn't gonna freak me out. And then I go to and then she like bends over backwards and spider walks down the stairs, and I'm like, what the
Yep.
you know.
Yep. Turned it off. So
Well,
Insidious. Somebody said Insidious. And I said no. Hard no.
Are these older people going to go for these kinds of new
They're
horror
the
films?
ones, yes, they're the ones that are like throwing out these movies at me. So yeah. All I've been doing is walking up to people and going, "Hey, what's your favorite scary movie?" All fun, not scary and creepy.
Has anybody surprised you with what they said?
Insidious. And I was like, no, that would be a no.
Welcome to my life as a library programmer where I have to do this. I mean, I mean that I generally I will I like hold a veto stamp in my hand. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
someone said, you need to watch this movie. You need to show this movie. And I look and I go, no.
yeah,
And I stamp it. It's like, no, that's not happening.
yeah.
But
Hard hell no. But most of them are in it for the snacks. They're like, so, Jody, what kind of snacks are you gonna bring? And I'm like, oh, what you got in your apartment? Because I'm feeding 180 people. So, and because it's open to everybody, I don't know who's showing up and who's not.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be fun, and everybody seems to be pretty excited about it so far.
Now,
So,
now I know that you've been talking to Melissa, who's had the circulation here about maybe getting Snowberry as a drop off for books and stuff like that.
yes, and we're going to revisit that conversation. We've had a few brief encounters, um, and we're waiting for like the new owners and these types of things to kind of come in and be settled before we start making like any kind of things, because we don't know what they're going to do when they get here.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, so there are several people who have books delivered here, but unfortunately they're not mobile, and so it's difficult for them to get books back to the library. And I do think that more people would utilize the library services if there was a drop box here.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact that a good portion of our population, they're just not mobile.
Yeah.
Some of them haven't driven in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they have family. And, family, of course, does a lot of their errands and stuff. But I do think having a drop box here would definitely allow them to be more connected to the library and the services that are there.
And plus, it would allow them to get those current books that possibly people are not going to donate to you. They'd be able to get those. So, I mean, truly, that's a really good thing. I mean, I hope it happens, because I think it would really benefit the residents at Snowberry. It could benefit your library as well. That you're creating. And I will tell you this, that Melissa just loves you. So I think that she's very excited about working with you to sort of make that happen.
I'm excited about it, but I'm also excited about hopefully opening up the options to like audio, because we do have several residents here that are very far along vision impaired or are progressing to vision impaired, and they're starting to experience audiobooks for the first time. And they don't have smartphones. So being able to have access to some audio on books, some of the equipment perhaps. So these types of things. And even with the book clubs, I've gone through so far all of the book club kits. And those are going to be some of the first ones that I'm presenting to the book club. Just to kind of make it easier, because, the cost of books are not cheap. And a lot of people here are on a very limited income. So that's a wonderful new addition for the library, from the library. So we're going to take advantage of that.
Well, and if they have like access to Peter White Public Library cards, I mean, they've got Hoopla, they've got, like Libby and all that stuff where they could absolutely get access to those audiobooks, and even ebooks where you can increase the font size to 24 or 36 point fonts so that people can read those books, if they have vision issues. I think that it's going to benefit everybody, not just the residents, but it's going to benefit our library as well, Peter White, because we always want to. Our goal at the library is to obviously get books in people's hands, and being able to do that for more people is a really important thing. And who knows? You could be starting a new trend. Maybe you're going to be having author visits to Snowberry where people can come in and read and talk about their books. I might know a person or two who've written books, and
I think I might know somebody too
who might be willing to come in and do a reading and talk about books and what it means to be an author. So
that would be fun. Well, I have spoken to the service coordinator about expanding, like perhaps some programming from the library and having those groups. We do have a resident activity committee here that puts on a lot of activities, and they work hand in hand with the service coordinator here, who brings in a lot of different things. So it's endless opportunity. I'm having a blast with it, and getting to know, of course, my residents that other residents have just been fabulous. Because, you know, I don't talk that much.
You don't, you, wait, 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 wait. Will you say that again? You don't talk that much?
I don't talk that much. And which is funny. And that I laugh because you know that's a lie. And you know, and I ask 50 million questions. And you know, I want to know everybody's story. Especially when you talk to somebody who said, well, I've been at Snowberry for 30 years. I think I'm the person who's been here the longest. There's like arguments about who's been here the longest between like 4 people. And it's passionate. It's a passionate art. So no, I mean, just to get to know people, they've come to like all my information things, talking about the library. So no, it's been fun, and I'm sure it'll continue to be fun.
You know what? 40 years from now, you're going to be going, I've been here the longest. Okay? Jody is going to be like the longest living resident of Snowberry Heights.
Lord,
and she's still going to be running the library, and she's still going to be going and pounding on people's doors when they don't turn on. Give me that. Bring back my book. I know you have it.
It's funny. I was standing. The word spread quickly. I was standing in the library, and a woman came in. We were having a conversation about literature, and she took a book that I read, that I told her everybody said was like a really good book, and literally started to walk out without checking out the book. And I'm like, come back here. Let me show you how this is done. And I made that woman stand there and check out that book.
And she's like, what? What are you talking about? This is my book now.
She was like, I didn't even know we were supposed to do that. It's just going to take a while.
So the next thing that you need to do is you need to get bars in the spines of these books, so that every time they walk out with that, try to walk out with one without checking it out, there's no magnetic thing. You're going to have to like alarms going on.
Oh dear God, no! That would give like everybody here a heart attack. That would just not be good.
So you, I mean, I guess it's just a learning curve for them.
It is.
That, hey, this is a library. It's not a, hey, here's my books, come and grab whatever you want and bring it back whenever you want, or don't bring it back. You know, that kind of thing. You know, that's you're in your own very southern charming way teaching these people what a library is and what you have and what the responsibilities are.
Yes. And they're coming along. It's just going to take a little while. And but they're very appreciative, and they're very kind, and they always tell me how much they appreciate everything I've done for the library, and they've been able to read so many new books. And yeah, so
well, I have to ask you, so next week is the Friends of the Library book sale here at the library. Are you coming to possibly look for additions to your library?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm coming. I am. I'm going to be there. So, and I have a list in hand
of books that you're supposed to be looking for.
Books that I am not supposed to leave without. Now you got to get early, and you got to get in line.
I was just down there looking through just the regular bookstore, the Friends bookstore, and there was this copy of a book that Hillary Rodham Clinton has written, you know, and it had a thing that said autographed.
What?
Yeah, it's a book about the White House and the functions of the White House and things that so I was like, okay, who is this by? She probably had a ghostwriter or something like it. I open it up and it's addressed to somebody, and it says, "With all my best, Hillary Rodham Clinton." So there's a book down there that's for $10 that's autographed by Hillary Clinton.
That's crazy.
I know. It's a really beautiful book, too. So I didn't buy it. Not that I don't like Hillary Clinton or anything like that. It's not any kind of political thing or anything. It's just, $10. I didn't have $10 on me at the time, and that kind of thing. But it's a really beautiful book. It's downstairs. Last time I checked, it was down there, but it literally is autographed by the first woman to ever run for president of the United States on a major ticket.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing. So anyway, but
She
you know
wrote,
what?
she
I
wrote a
will
book with
have.
James Patterson.
She did.
So
And
did they.
here's the thing. Here's what I promise you, Jody. I will donate a book, one of my books, to your library. Nobody will probably ever check it out because,
That's not
poetry is
true. I'm going to put it on the new shelf so everybody
Yeah,
can
well,
see it.
there you go. I will donate a copy of my book to the Snowberry Heights Library. I will sign it. And if you want me to, I will come in and give a reading at Snowberry for you.
That'll be fun. They'll get a kick out of Bigfoot poetry. Who doesn't?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. So, all right. Well, there you go. That's the word from Jody Trost, the new librarian at Snowberry Heights. Jody's next felting class in PWPL will take place at the beginning of October. And I hate to tell you this, but it's already full, people. But get yourself on the waiting list because you might be able to sneak in. But before I let you leave the stacks and shelves of I said nude. Nerd York
Dude.
Public Library. That's a whole other different library that we're not even going to talk about.
New
I
podcast.
You're not going to find us at Snowberry, a nude library, and you're not going to find it at Peter White either. I was trying to say Nerd York Public Library, and it came out differently. Anyway, we need to find out what you have been reading recently, Jody. Something that you think listeners should run to the library and pick up off the shelf. So,
Okay.
Jody, what have you been reading that's good that you want to recommend for people?
So I have been exposing myself to new types of literature.
Okay.
Like things that like I would never normally pick up like voluntarily.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to figure out like different books that everybody like likes here.
Mm-hmm.
But I figure if I'm gonna like buy these books, I need to know what they are. But one that I just started recently, and I'm not far into it, but so far I really like it. It's the Book of Lost Names.
The Book of Lost Names.
Harmel.
Who's it by?
By Kristin Harmel.
Kristin?
Kristin.
Okay. How do you spell the last name?
Harmel.
Okay. Okay. And what brought you to the Book of Lost Names?
One of the residents here, when she returns the books, because she checks the books out and returns them, she leaves little notes in the front page of the book, whether it's good or it sucks. Or
she writes in it? She writes in the actual book?
She does. So she'll write like on the very first page or on the inside cover, whether it was good or bad, or, what she, okay,
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been watching like some of the things that she likes, and she's a very avid reader. I would say she's probably read most of everything in the library.
Okay.
And this one she said was great. So, so far I'm in agreement, but I'm not very far into it yet. And yeah, I mean, I don't condone writing in books, but I do appreciate her little notes for everybody else, because everybody seems to take Miss Maggie's advice and reads it.
Well, here's my suggestion for you then.
Yes.
Miss Maggie's top 10 for the month of September. Miss Maggie's top 10 for the month of October, and just put it on the board.
Oh,
put it up for you.
Yeah, Miss Maggie's top 10.
Yes.
She'll get a kick out of that.
Yeah. Because if you have someone that, you sort of respect their taste and everything like that, then,
Her and another lady, they just read. They're all over the place. They read. So I sort of read an Amish Harlequin romance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure what I was in for. Very, very clean. very clean Harlequin romance. Because I remember my mom read Harlequin romances, and it was like, Fabio with his long blonde locks,
Oh,
like
God, yeah.
proud across the front of these Harlequin romances, and I would just like, and and I tried reading a few, and then it just gave me more fuel to tease her. And then so I thought, okay, Amish Harlequin romance. I mean, how bad can it be? It was very clean, very pure. And it was very quick. Bam, it was over. 80
Did
pages.
you enjoy it?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I made it through it. I don't think it would be something I would put on my top 10 list of things to read, but they're very popular here.
At Snowberry, they're very popular.
Yeah, and you can like digest it in like, I mean, some women are reading like 5 a week. I mean, it's just crazy.
This is like a new thing for me. Amish Harlequin romances.
I will bring you one. Just so you
No, you don't have to do that. Please don't.
No,
Please
you
don't
want
do
to.
that. I really don't want to read an Amish. But the Book of Lost Names is not an Amish Harlequin romance, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Not. So no,
Is it like a fantasy book, or what is it?
No, so far it's basically about a young librarian who comes across this book of lost names, which is affiliated with like the Jewish World War II Nazis, and people were signing this book of lost names. And it was also when like, the Nazis were taking all the art and the literature and burning it or getting rid of it or hoarding it or whatever, all the horrible things they were doing. And her refinding this book. And that's as far as I've gotten so far.
Okay.
I do love the storyline idea.
So it's just it's like a historical fiction.
Yes. And so I'm excited. And so far I haven't like, thrown it across the room or anything like that. So or put it back in the library. So I'm just picking and choosing like different kinds of things to kind of see what other people are reading.
Have you come across a book that you absolutely hated and couldn't finish?
In my life?
Well, no, and since you've been doing this.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. I'm trying to keep my tolerance threshold high. So I can
that's difficult for me. That's very difficult for me because I figure my life, I'm getting up there in age, and I'm thinking I don't have that much time in my life to read bad books. But I also have this thing, like if I start a book, I feel compelled to finish the book as well. So, that's tough for me, especially when I start reading and it's a terrible book and I hate it, but I still feel compelled to finish it.
Well, after this one, I'm going to be reading like a very cutesy, like murder mystery book.
Okay.
I have my choosing because there's tons of them down there. A woman and her husband moved downstate to live with her daughter recently, and she donated all of her books, and they were all paperback. So I have this huge shelf of paperbacks now, and it's those kind of cutesy. It reminds me of, what was her name? Lillian Braun.
Oh yeah.
Like the sneaky cats or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Braun. Yeah, Lillian Braun, the cat books. Yeah.
They remind me kind of those.
Okay.
Maybe a little Sharon McCrum, kind of like, murder mystery. She's another Southern writer I like. So that's my next read. Everybody tells me they're really funny.
So but the book that you're recommending then is The Book of Lost Names by Kristin Harmel.
Yeah, so far I'm liking it. Okay.
Well, maybe the next time you're on, you'll be saying, stay away from this author. It's terrible. But
I will let you know.
But yes. So Miss Maggie recommends it, though. Says it's good.
Miss Maggie said it's good.
And you like Miss Maggie? You would trust Miss Maggie?
So far.
Well, hold on, Miss Maggie. You better not you better not read or recommend a book that we hate, because then Miss Maggie's lists are probably not going to be going up in the library anytime soon. So maybe next time when you're on the podcast, we'll have you and Miss Maggie together talking about books.
I don't know. You better make it a long podcast.
Okay, well, maybe not. We'll see. So, all right, everybody, that is Jody Trost's recommendation of a book that you should run to her library. I don't know if we have it, but maybe we do. But run to the Snowberry Heights Library and pick up Off the Shelf. And believe it or not, we have come to the end of this little library episode of Library Nerds with Words. I want to thank Jody Trost, librarian at Snowberry Heights and popular teacher of PWPL's Felt Magic program. And I will tell you, people, that is like one of the most popular classes, workshops, events that we do here. It's hard to get into the class. I have people stopping me all the time and saying, how do I get into the class? And I tell them, pay attention to when it's coming up and you can get in. But it's a hard thing to get into. But I want to thank Jody for taking time away from her needles and books to stop by Nerdtopia today. Come back next week when I will be talking with Bella Markham. She's a new face here at Peter White Public Library. She's the new local history coordinator. Ooh. So we're going to learn a little bit more about Bella, who's a wonderful, wonderful person. I think everybody's going to love her. And she will hopefully become a regular here on the library, just like Jody is now becoming a regular on Library Nerds with Words. But until that time, everyone, stay nerdy. Thank you for listening to Library Nerds with Words, Peter White Public Library's weekly podcast, giving you the word on what's cool at the library. The theme for the podcast is Happy Clappy by John Bartman, used courtesy of Pixabay. This episode was written and produced by Martin Acketts and sponsored by Peter White Public Library. Until next week, pick up a good book, listen to some good music, watch a good movie, attend a great event, and remember, library nerds are the coolest people around.